What's up, everybody? Matt from Laythrom Media here with you today, and we're going to be talking about some of the big wigs when it comes to 3D modeling software. Now, before I hear anybody say anything about other programs, yes, there are other programs out there on the market. There's a reason why I haven't listed those in this video, and it's mainly because either A, I don't use them at all, I don't have access to them, or a combination of both. But today we are going to be hitting on the Foundry's Modo, or Modo, depending on who's pronouncing it, Autodesk 3ds Max, Autodesk Maya, Maxon's Cinema 4D, if I could talk, and also Rhino 5. Now, with all of that said, we're going to dive into the Foundry's Modo, or M-O-D-O, if you will. Now, you will notice throughout this entire video that all of the models are the same. They're relatively set up the same as far as layout goes. But, I mean, in all reality, when you're looking at this, I will say one thing. You have three big things that I am a fairly decent fan of when it comes to Modo. You have onion skinning, you have particle engine, and you have procedural animation. Those are the big heavyweights, if you will. I have yet to find any forward or inverse kinematics involved, or lip syncing, fluid dynamics. It doesn't have a scripted engine, stuff like that that kind of pulls it down. Now, as far as difficulty learning how to use Modo, it's not that bad. I've come across harder programs, harder software in the past that was just an absolute disaster to play with. If I should have to think of one right off the top of my head, I would have to say Zmodeler is one of those ones that are up there. Rhino's actually not too far behind it, but it's mainly because I haven't really used Rhino. We'll get there. It does have its perks, it does have its flaws, and I'll be honest with you, it's not exactly the cheapest on the market either. You are looking at essentially $1,800 for an individual license. Now, I have not went in and actually looked and seen if they had an educational license. Let's see, students, let's find out while we're here. Apparently you can, which is actually a cool thing. If you're a student and you're actually looking to get in the world of 3D, if that's your major, if you will, you may want to look into this. I mean, you're looking at anywhere from $150 to $250 for a student education license. That's not bad. I mean, that's a year of a node lock license. I mean, not everybody does it, so it may be something that you want to look into if you're a student. All in all, I have to say, even though I don't use Modo very often, the learning curve on it, if you've ever been exposed to any type of 3D environment at all, it's not horrible. It's fairly somewhat simple to catch on. Well, I don't want to say simple. It's easier than other programs to catch on to. It's not the easiest program to pick up and run with, but if you've had some experience in the past with any kind of 3D program, it's not a bad bet to start off with. Second up, we have 3ds Max. Now, this is one of those programs that I've been messing around with for quite some time. And you know what? It is absolutely a beast when you need it to be. Now, 3ds Max is a super powerful modeling tool. You have the ability to create quite complex 3D models with a relatively fast workflow, which is something that's absolutely awesome about it. You have a crap ton of modifiers that you can run into with, and you also have a real good poly modeler. The rendering's not bad. I mean, you're looking at the ability to run... you have... let me think here. You have the ability to use mental ray, scanline rendering, you have V-ray, you have Maxwell renderer, Octane renderer, Lux renderer. I believe that you also have RenderMan. Don't quote me on that. I think that's most mainly a Maya thing. I'm not actually sure now that I think about it if you have RenderMan for 3ds Max. But you have a nice little variety. Oh, you also have Final Render. So you have a nice little variety of renderers when it comes to 3ds Max. But one of the downsides is... wrong damn window. One of the downsides is the price tag. Not as much as Modo, but you're still looking at almost $1,500. Now, the great thing about it is you can get a free 3-year license if you are a student. Right here, you see it right here. You sign up with your student credentials and information and all that other good stuff, and you get 3 years of using 3ds Max for absolutely $0, 0 cents. Just use it for, education, no commercial stuff, and you're good to go. We also have Maya, which is something that I pretty much... This is where I started. I started in Maya, and then I had to basically go back and teach myself 3ds Max. Now, with something like that, 3ds Max was a little bit harder for me to comprehend as far as learning how to work the program. There was a lot more little tips, tricks, tools involved. It took a bigger learning curve for me to figure out 3ds Max. So take that with what you will. Now, Maya is really, really good at their animating. Animation is a big thing. Also, you can have a lot of, you can interject not only Python, but also Mel scripting in Maya, which is not something that you can really do with a lot of 3D applications, or 3D packages, if you will. Comes to be one of those things that I like, personally. I just like the way the layout is. I like damn near everything about it, quite frankly. All in all, personally, I like the workflow in Maya a lot more than I do in 3ds Max, even though they are both solid. The rendering's kind of up and down between the two, and you have a lot of plugins for both of them. But in the rendering realm, you have your software and your hardware rendering for Maya. You also have V-Ray, you have RenderMan, I believe you have Octane Renderer as well, and I believe 3D Delight. That last one I'm kind of not sure about, but I believe so. One of the things that kind of sucks, again, is the price tags. You're looking at, again, about $1,500 for Maya. Keep in mind, this is also another Autodesk product, so if you're a student, you get 3 years for free to use it. All is good in everything, if you will. Maya is also one of the few things that Autodesk offers that is also compatible on OS X. So if you are a Mac user, not so much a Windows user, this is an option. I do not think that... I'm pretty sure Modo is not available on Mac, and I'm pretty sure that 3DS is not available on Mac either. Or else it would say. We also have this wonderful thing called Cinema 4D. Now, this is Rev 15. This is the broadcast edition. This is by far what I would consider one of the easiest programs to start off on. Maya would probably be number 2. Cinema 4D would be number 1. It is one of those things that, although I never opened it, it was probably about 3 years ago before I finally sat down and opened up a copy of Cinema 4D. I had no idea what I was doing and basically managed to stumble through it and figure out where a lot of it was just by knowing, a little bit of 3ds Max and mostly Maya. Looking back on it, it seems like this was by far one of the easiest things to pick up as far as the 3D software went. One of the great things about Cinema 4D is you also have a lot of animation features. You have the ability to run scripted animations, you have options for lip sync, inverse and forward kinematics, fluid dynamics, multiple camera shots. You have a lot of rendering options. You have the ability to model in NURBS if you wish, instead of straight polys. You can rock out procedural textures, cloth, fur, hair, and there's a few other things that I'm sure that you could probably do. Let's see, you have the ability to do color transforming, micro polygon rendering, different render passes, 3D depth of field, motion blur, 3D stereo, your AO, and all this other good stuff. Most of your 3D packages on the planet will have the ability to do your AO, your global illumination, multipass, ray tracing, your different render layers and things like that. But this one just seems to be the easiest to play with. Also, on top of which, it is also available for Mac. The one downside that you're bringing into this wonderful mix is the price tag. If you're looking for a seat, you're generally going to have to fork out... Why do I keep doing that? You're going to have to fork out $3,700, which is by far the most expensive piece of 3D software that I've come across thus far, and it makes me cringe when I think about how much that is literally almost 3 seats of Maya or 3ds Max. It's kind of makes you cringe, but at the same time, there's a lot of good stuff that goes into it. Also, there is some good news if you're a student. That's right, for 18 months you can get it for free. The complete Cinema 4D Studio. The only thing that you're not going to get is network rendering. It's just going to be a node render. You don't really get any support for serial number dependent plugins, and you only have 18 months. But still, better than the ones you have to pay for. Finally, last but not least, we have Rhino. Now, there are a few things that I have to say about Rhino. It is absolutely and utterly confusing for me. There is so much going on in the UI. It's one of those programs that kind of makes me cringe a little bit whenever I have sat down and tried to think on whether or not I was going to use it or not. It's bad. It's damn near almost as intimidating as 3ds Max was when I first opened it up. Actually, it's probably more intimidating than 3ds Max when I first opened it. When I first started learning it. Now, the one good thing about Rhino is it opens a lot of different files, mainly because it's not only a 3D platform, but you also have this nifty little tab right here called drafting. Yes, that means you can do drafting in this thing as well. You're not just stuck at one thing or another. So you have the ability to open, and I'm trying to do this all by memory, so forgive me if I forget something. But you can open DWG/DXF, IGES, 3ds files, Lightwave files, OBJs, SolidWorks files, step files, MicroStation files, DirectX files, SketchUp files, FBX files, and Parasolid files, I believe. If memory serves me right, I believe there are more. KML files is another one. It has the ability to take care of large point clouds, which is also a good thing, but one of the downsides is it has a relatively small following for plugins, if you will. You have V-Ray, Maxwell, Keyshot, and I believe Brazil engine for rendering. I want to say there's also a real-time renderer that's actually done by Autodesk, but again, don't quote me on that. It has a lot of different things that you could do with it. It is a rather steep learning curve as far as I'm concerned, and it is also available for Windows and Mac. Now, your full pricing, you're looking at about $1,000 for a single user just for Rhino 5. Around $1,700 if you're running the bundle, which is Rhino, Flamingo, Penguin, and Bongo. And if you are a student, you are a little bit lucky, and it's $200. I honestly think it should be free, but that's just my 2 cents on the matter. If I were to have to pick one, just my personal preference, I'm going to pick either 3ds Max, Maya, or Cinema 4D, because I can't not make up my mind between the three. Don't get me wrong, the other two are still perfectly good programs, except for the learning curve on Rhino. Modo I have nothing wrong with, but I don't know. I mean, Maya's generally used like crazy for animations, movies, things of that nature, so Cinema 4D, don't get me wrong. Cinema 4D does a lot of photorealistic stuff for magazines and websites and stuff like that. And 3ds Max has been an absolute banshee in the world of video game making and all that other goodness. They all have their strong points. They all have some drawbacks. But in the long run, if I absolutely have to pick one, I would actually have to call it a, like not a yo-yo, but a kind of like a balancing beam between two different points here. If I had to pick, a cheaper variant with a decent learning curve, I'm going to go with not 3ds Max, but Autodesk Maya. It has a relatively easy learning curve. It has a decent little amount of plugins. It doesn't have as many plugin possibilities or, different plugins available as 3ds Max does, but it's a little bit cheaper, a little bit easier to learn versus 3ds Max. If you want something that's really easy to learn and you have the money to kind of throw around a little bit, I would go Cinema 4D. That's my 2 cents on the entire matter. If you have anything to add, by all means. This is already a long and drawn out video, but it's one of those things that I've gotten the question I don't know how many times, and there's never a quick and easy answer about it. Because you have so many different possibilities, so many different caveats. It's just impossible to just sit there and be like, oh, okay, well, this program for this reason, and that's it. So with all of that being said, if I haven't bored you to death already, if you have any questions, concerns, comments, feel free to drop them in the comment box below. If I forgot something, please, by all means, feel free to let me know. I don't like giving out, bad information. I don't like giving out misinformation or a lack of information. So if I miss something, please let me know in the comment section. If you found this informative at all, please hit the thumbs up. If, you watch the video and you're kind of irritated that I didn't bring up Blender and I didn't showcase Blender, well then by all means give it a thumbs down. I'm kind of curious to see how many Blender users is actually going to do that. But either way, do not forget to hit the subscribe button. I will see you guys next time, and please, like I said, hit the subscribe button. It helps me out tremendously, and it lets you know every single time we kick out a video. And that's about all I have. So until next time, see you guys later.